Closer look at a sensitive but important issue, faith under fire or media under scrutiny. The Nigerian question. For years, some Western media outlets have portrayed Nigeria as a country where Christians face systematic persecution. But is that the full story or a distorted narrative shaped by selective reporting and limited understanding of Nigeria's complex realities? While insecurity and communal clashes affect Nigerians across faiths, analysts argue that these reports often overlook deeper issues: poverty, politics, and ethnicity, reducing every conflict to religion. Joining me tonight to provide insight on this sensitive topic is the President's Special Advisor on Policy Communication, Barrister Daniel Bwala. Thank you for coming on Politics.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
I don't know where this narrative is coming from. Now, it started with a congressman in the United States of America under the last administration. And, you know, President Donald Trump ran with it. At the point in time, he asked President Buhari, that, is it true? Or he asserted, and, you know, it was debunked as at that time. This thing is coming back again. Where is this coming from?
Let me give you a context to it. Indeed, in 2015, events leading to 2015, when the Boko Haram insurgency intensified, at the beginning it was largely affecting churches and Christians and religious leaders, because at the time, Boko Haram thought by doing that they would create religious war in the country and create problem. Not long after that, they switched now to everybody. And the stats are there to show that during these periods of insurgency and insecurity, there have been more Muslims killed than the Christians. So during Buhari, when the congressman was, talking what he was talking, yes, at the time we were exiting from this idea of being religiously influenced in terms of burning of churches and killing of Christians. They were also killing other faiths at the same time. But at the time, as we're exiting, you can say that the cry of the senator at the time might be justified. I'm not conceding to that, but somebody can just say...
Consistently every Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Bombing churches here and there.
But since the president took the oath of office in 2023, there have been far less cases of Christians being killed by the insurgents or bandits or Boko Haram as compared to other faiths. First of all, insecurity is a problem, not just in Nigeria, but globally. And governments the world over are making the effort to fight against that. But there is something very, very unique about the recent surge of this clamor by not just the congressmen, but the Western media in the United States. It is an agenda-based. It is based on a plan to destabilize Nigeria, to create... I'll give you a context. Immediately after the United Nations hunger, when Nigeria, took a position in relation to so many issues around the world, including issues in Gaza, 24 hours later, Bill Maher...
We went for two-state option.
Yes. 24 hours later, Bill Maher, who is a comedian and a journalist in the U.S., of course, of the Jewish descent, now cried out. But from the content of his complaint, you can deduce that there is an agenda, because he said he wonders why the young people in Nigeria are not out in the street, and then he accused the media, Western media, of not covering it. The report that he was relied on was a report released not during this administration, but in the administration before now. Then that begs the question, where were they when that thing happened and when that report was released? Secondly, the author of that report, Intercity or whatever non-governmental organization, find out who are the funders, who are the people funding it. And thirdly, the report has been debunked and controverted by other reports because, one, it is outrightly false that number of people that they said were killed, the number of people that were killed, they say were Christians. It has been debunked that it is not so. So what they do is that every crisis situation that happened in any part of the northern Nigeria that result in the killing, they classify all of them and categorize them as the killing of Christians. Now, I am not suggesting that there are no cases where Christians are killed or church mosques are burned, but the figure projected with the noise that is made typifies the picture or the textbook of somebody who has an agenda. Not long after he said that, you see the United States senators who are funded by AIPAC. The senators that are funded by AIPAC, in fact, they have recently come under backlash by the neocons and the MAGA people in the United States, took up this campaign. And for every mention of the issue around Nigeria, you will see them emphasizing people to go to the street and protest. That is a classical case
Destabilize.
that there is a plan to destabilize Nigeria. We will not allow that, because if you have seen from the Nigerian point of view, Nigerians have learned. Nigerians are not taking them serious. But we need to take this disinformation they are given to the Western media and prove it to them that it is an agenda-driven. It is not born out of care for the people that are suffering in Nigeria. Otherwise, they would have done something about it.
Now, do you think this narrative is also supported by opposition in Nigeria just to discredit the administration of President Bwala Tinubu?
Yeah, of course. The Nigerian politician traveled to the U.S. As soon as he returned, we started seeing all of that. It is textbook. These are not things that we are surprised by, especially when you have a situation where the opposition don't even know the concept and the basis and the idea behind opposition. Because the job of opposition is to provide alternative idea. So when you don't have alternative idea, the next thing you think to do is to create a scenario where the Nigerian state will not be at peace. Yes, I agree to that fact.
All right. We'll take this breather one more. Thank you for staying with us. This is Politics on Sunday, and we are still looking at the fiction of Christian genocide and the conspiracy against Nigeria. Yeah. Now, who was that opposition leader that actually traveled out of the country, and when he came back and they started? I
mean, those who watch social media will know the opposition leader. I don't want to glorify him by mentioning his name, but everybody knew. He traveled to the United States a few days after he returned, all this thing started. But let me say this, because I look beyond him. You see, gone are those days when countries in Africa sit back, indolent, when there is a Western disinformation campaign against those countries. It's been happening. And it has been a textbook that is often used in other countries to force all kinds of things to make the government unpopular. When Donald Trump started by saying fake news media, at that time the world thought that he was just talking. It was not much later that people realized that Western legacy media can perpetuate and push up a narrative that is not backed up by fact or that is influenced by an agenda. And that is the situation that we see against Nigeria with respect to the issues that they are raising, because it has no basis. There is no killings of Christians. The insurgency and insecurity in the country today is not targeting Christians, it's targeting all Nigerians. And all of us collectively together, we are fighting it, and we've made stride and giant achievement in the fight against insurgency.
And when you look at the fight against this insurgency, in the last 10 years, this seems to be a random thing. Yeah. And the people we have, we have the ISWAP, the Boko Haram guys, and we have the bandits.
Right.
You know, the philosophy of these groups, none of them are set out that, look, their victims must be Christians alone.
No, not at all. If you look at Boko Haram, it is ideologically driven. And the idea at the time was to establish what looked like a caliphate. But in perpetuating the crime, they have killed their fellow Muslims, devout Muslims. They have burned mosques, they have killed imams, and they have killed malams as well. So they could not have been pushing an agenda that is factual or backed up by religious faith. It is a crime. When the bandits started in the Northwest, if you see, it is economically driven, and some of them have a component of land. It has nothing to do with church. They have abducted people of all religion. They have killed people of all religion. They have extorted money from people of all religion. They raped people of all religion. So it has no religious basis. Then if you look at other forms of crime like armed robbery and the rest in the country, none can be classified as a targeted plan to kill Christians in the country.
Don't you think what is happening in Plateau states or Bedouin states might be a kind of playbook that these people are looking at? That there's the Fulani bandits, the bandits that are coming to target, the settlers, the indigenes from time to time, like in Plateau State, basically they are Christians.
You see?
So a lot of people might be using that as a playbook and look at what's the genocide happening in Plateau State and look at what is happening in Benue State.
Let me even tell you.
Benue State is predominantly a Christian community.
But if that is the narrative they want to work with, it will not be sustained. Why? Because, you see, the founder of Intercity, or whatever NGO that they base their complaint on, the fellow is from the southeast. And in his report, he has recorded the killings during this Monday sit at home. Now, the killings are perpetrated by people from the southeast against their brothers. Is that also a plan against the church and against Christians? If you look at Benue, the component of landholders, farmers is there. If you look at Plateau, it has a component of land as well.
And these people are complaining that the government is not taking enough action to stem this tide.
So when was the last time you saw the crisis?
Plateau State and Benue State.
But when was the last time we see in Plateau and Benue?
We still had some this year.
No, but no, you could, you see, one, okay, let me give you this world report. If you can fact check that one. In the year 2025, the crime rate in America, as per resulting in death, whatever is the classification of that crime, is more in number than the crime rate in Nigeria. Should American government be saying that there is democracy is having a problem there? More death in the United States. And the Western media hardly talk about that. This is how you will know agenda. When they come to talk about their nations, they talk about investment opportunities. They talk about how beautiful their country is. Skirmishes of politics here and there they will talk, but majorly that's what they focus on. But whenever they look at countries in Africa, they don't look at, for example, since President Bwala Tinubu came on board, look at the magical result we have achieved. We promised that we are going to expand access to education. We spent 99 billion, and this spending benefited over 500,000 people who could afford to go to school and pay their fees and their cost of living. They don't talk about that. We have, look at the healthcare. You just reported about the health. Look at cesarean section is free in government hospitals. Dialysis has been subsidized. 774,000 people have been recruited as primary health care workers.
The primary responsibility of any government is the security of life and property.
Yeah.
And if you look at the situation in Kwara State now, that's spread down to Kwara, North Central now.
Right.
How would you assess this government in terms of security of life and property?
So good. So in assessment, there is this thing called context, because you cannot talk out of context. And how you judge the government is based on what he found, what the situation was before he came, and whether the situation has worsened or it has improved.
A lot of people, they will tell you that it's coming down south.
Since the president since the president took the oath of office, has there been prison break? The answer is no. Have they taken over local government in Nigeria? The answer is no. The rate of crime that we were seeing prevalent in the FCT at the time, do we have it now? The answer is no. Before he came, we did not arrest key leaders of Boko Haram and insurgents, but we have seen that in his administration. We have seen the surrendering by leaders of bandits and Boko Haram. We have also seen the recoveries of people that are abducted by this government. We have seen the collaboration of the security platforms. Nigerians are going about their normal businesses here and there. So if you look at context, you will be able to assess government. But if your focus is only on pockets of crime here and there, I'm sad to disappoint you that there is no country of the world today where you cannot find crime situation. In London today, as I speak to you, there are parts of Borough in London. You cannot walk around 7 o'clock because petty crimes are here all over the place. A few days ago, you see the killings in England of the Jewish community. Charles Kirk in America was talking in a broad daylight. He was shot. Have we seen that case in Nigeria? So context is always important, and we have now discovered that nobody will tell your story. You have to tell your story your own way. And the Western media have found disinformation and misinformation as an agenda to push narratives that demarcate government rather than the positive that the government has done. Look at our foreign reserve. Look at the way we unify the Naira and the rest. See, there are so many aspects of government we have achieved that has never made it to the news at the international level. And then these elements that are already having problem in America. Ted Cruz is the senator that is always having podcasts here and there, talking about his sponsoring a bill against Nigeria on how to punish Nigeria because of criminal element and crime. Ted Cruz is under scrutiny by the MAGA, Make America Great Again supporter of Donald Trump, because of the role he is playing in not protecting the citizens of the United States. He's already unpopular. So he wants to divert attention by looking at Nigeria. Look at Ted Bond. All of these people who are supporting him, they are all funded by APAC. And they are all unpopular in their respective states. The aim is to be able to engineer some anger in Nigeria and get the government of the United States to take position against Nigeria. The good thing for us is that President Donald Trump and Nigeria and President Bwala will have shared interests in fighting insecurity. I remember in the government of the late President Buhari, it was President Donald Trump's first time that he sold weapons to us that will enable us fight insurgency and insecurity. And he knows the strategic position of Nigeria in Africa and sub-region. And so we have shared interests and common interests in fight against insurgency and Boko Haram and all forms of crime. We will not bow to the agenda that is being pushed by unscrupulous elements in the West using the media.
They are just elements, it's not the entire country.
No, not even the government
States
of America. Because the executive branch of the United States has not made any comment about that. And there's an intriguing thing I want to bring to the notice of Nigerians and all the people who are listening. Have you not noticed that almost all the reports that foreign media rely on in forming their opinion about Nigeria are only reports that are done by non-governmental organizations that are funded by foreign interests? Why are they not looking at the Bureau of Statistics? Why are they not looking at other forms? Even, let's say, Transparency International. Go to the website of Transparency International today and look at their report on Nigeria and look at their report on America. Look at the Human Rights Watch and look at their reports about Nigeria and reports in the Western world. It seems there's a disproportionate application of the rules and disproportionate reportage of the issues. So we are calling them out. It has nothing to do with the government of the United States. It is elements in the United States that are funded by APAC and some other interest group that are pushing this narrative, and they are using media that they have influence over.
Do you think the position of Nigeria, in the last hunger, strong opposition to Israeli war in Palestine, do you think, from what the president said openly, do you think this is what has led to this?
I honestly have every reason to believe that. But the position we took is not adverse. I mean, we took a position that we support two-state solution. That is the position of the United Nations. That is the position of most countries of the world. Secondly, we join in condemning inhumane treatment in Gaza. Is it not the same insecurity we are talking about here? And then we said that the lives in Gaza are not experiments. What is the big deal about it? Nations of the world have said it. We have strong shared interests with the government and the people of Israel. We have exchange. So there's no problem about government. It is elements. That, when in America they talk about deep states, and then they talk about certain elements that are not in government, but they believe they influence things around government, and they can push up narrative and agenda, including those who have powers over social media and they influence them. I saw a report of WikiLeaks, I don't know if it is verified, or a recent one where they said other social media influencers were paid at least $7,000 to influence this narrative against Nigeria. The other day I sent a tweet to Peter David, who is the owner of Valutainment. He just took it up like a campaign. If they truly care for Nigeria for over 12, 15 years that we've been dealing with insecurity, what have they done? What is their position? There are many things they could have actually picked as burning issues confronting us and say, let's build around there. Unfortunately for them, they picked old report, a place where no longer there. The crimes that is perpetrated by Boko Haram now has no religious element. And I'm not suggesting, like I said, and it bears repeating, I'm not suggesting that there are no cases where churches are burned and there are no cases where Christians are killed. But based on the report that they release, that is what is happening in Nigeria, given those false and fake figures. That is not the case as it is. Crimes that are committed in this country are not targeting any particular religion. It is crime against humanity. Some of the crimes are perpetrated by, are influenced by economic interests, some of them based on ideology, and others because they have collaboration with foreign interests outside. How many times have our soldiers, in the bid to fight insurgency, arrest foreign nationals in the bush, giving supplies to the insurgents?
I want to thank you, Barrister Daniel Bwala, the Special Advisor to the President Bola Tinubu on Communications. I want to thank you.